When the news of anthrax, a deadly zoonotic disease, broke in Ghana sometime last month, many West African countries became apprehensive. And of course, Nigeria, in a swift response, warned about the public health risk the disease poses. One of the steps taken was an advisory from authorities cautioning against the consumption of animal skin, popularly known as bomo. Perhaps one condition that seemingly sounds difficult, considering the love Nigerians have for this delicacy. However, in what appears to amplify the fear of the unknown, became a reality as the Federal Ministry of Agriculture confirmed first case of anthrax in Nigeria about 24 hours ago. A statement by the Chief Veterinary Officer of the Federation, Dr. Kolumba Vakuru, says the case was detected on the 14th of July in a private farm in Suleja local government area of Niger State, where it confirms animals were manifesting symptoms of the disease. Although a report says the farm has been put under quarantine, what is the next step of action for the federal government in nipping this deadly disease in the bud? Secondly, due to the dangerous and highly transmissible nature of the disease, the worry of potential impact of the disease on humans seem high. How safe are we? Curtailing anthrax in Nigeria is our focus on Nigeria today. Welcome to the program. I am Ikaria Clinton. Joining me to discuss the topic curtailing anthrax in Nigeria is via Zoom is Dr. Yahya Disu. He is the head of communications at Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC. Glad to have you with us. Glad to have you, sir. Now, I'll start from the basics, Dr. Yahya. What exactly is this anthrax? Just walk us through this disease, anthrax. What is it all about?
Anthrax is a disease caused by bacteria, and the name of the bacteria is Bacillus anthracis, and it is a zoonotic disease that is transmitted from animals to humans. It affects animals and can affect a mix of animals like sheep, cattle, goats, and camels, and so on. And what happens is when these animals that are affected die, the spores can stay for a long time in the environment, in the soil, and then human can get in touch with this either by ingestion or contact with the skin or by inhalation, and that way humans can also be infected. So the usual symptoms in animals are they're sick, they can start bleeding from different parts of the body, and then again when you slaughter such animals and they are showing the blood does not clot on time or does not clot at all, then it's a sign that this animal will be suffering from anthrax. But for humans, which we're also very much concerned about, the incubation period will stay for like 1 to 7 days based on the route of transmission to humans. Sometimes it could be months. If it is the skin, if the spore is in contact with the skin, it will be between 1 to 7 days, and then it can cause blisters on the skin and as well, and then these blisters can burst and form ulcer. Sometimes it can be painful, and then this can also spread to the other part of the body and can cause severe infection. Then if it's a situation whereby the spores is inhaled through our respiratory system, and then it can affect our lungs and cause severe illness. And then sometimes it is through ingestion when we consume food that contain these spores. That's why we need to be hygienic with our food. And then it can also affect our gastrointestinal system. That is our esophagus, our intestine, will also be attacked by it. And the more important thing is, wherever it's coming from, it can become spread to the other part of the body and cause severe illness in humans. It also comes with fatality, mortality, but transmission is it's not common, but it can happen once humans ingest or get in contact with this spot. But it's treatable. That's the good thing about it. What we just need to do is to report in the health facility or emergency hotlines of the State Ministry of Health. And then when we begin to speak on grassing. But for now,
Thank you, Dr. Yahaya. We are being joined here in the studio by Dr. Abubakar Muhammad, field veterinarian. He's also a governing board member, Veterinary Council of Nigeria. Welcome to Nigeria today.
Thank you so very much for having me. Good evening.
Dr. Abubakar, the disease, the anthrax, broke in Ghana. Nigeria sprang into action. However, unfortunately, so one case of anthrax has been detected here in Nigeria. Were we careful enough?
Well, I think we've been careful enough, and this is a case of the popular saying in public health that diseases don't have to get a visa issued before they get into the country. In this case also, we've been very lucky to have a veterinary service that is up and doing. And 6 weeks ago, we've gotten an alert from the Chief Vet Officer of the Federation asking all field veterinarians to be on an alert based on the outbreak in northern Ghana. And we know that in the block, the ECOWAS block, it is very easy for goods and services to actually move around. And for some of us, it is also very important, and notably too, I was also in another country close by working when I got that information about the outbreak. So we've been cautious enough. The mere fact that at point of slaughter or in a farm that the veterinary service was able to pick it is a fact that we've been up and doing, and that we have also have all our colleagues on the field still being sensitized and being encouraged to be on their alert, particularly in our slaughter facilities across the country. Usually, animals could be passed sick animals can get passed for slaughter, and sometimes even at the point of slaughter that you actually get to understand that you are dealing with a strange, highly infectious disease, and that is where we are now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Yahaya, between the time it broke out in Niger State and today, what level of intervention has taken place, considering the fact that we heard that there's an engagement between relevant authorities?
Can you repeat that again?
I said, what level of intervention has taken place, considering the fact that there's an engagement between relevant authorities?
Okay, well, with regards to the intervention, good enough, we have a National One Health Anthrax Technical Working Group that's been working before this report of the first case, and it's made up of relevant stakeholders from Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and then as well as Ministry of Health, represented by NCDC, Ministry of Environment, and other relevant associations. They've been working since there was this alert from Ghana. Then there a lot of awareness have been created, and the protocols were developed for contact tracing in case anything happens, and then rapid detection, and then also risk communication activity. They also visited the abattoir. So I'm also in that technical working playing role, working with our counterparts, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, creating messages and preparing for awareness and so on. So that actually helped before Salah, and then thinking that because we know that there will be movement of rams around the country, and then the risk may be higher during festive period and after Salah. So, and then with very proactive veterinary colleagues who are also working in the field, who have also developed high index of suspicion, they are very vigilant. You were able to quickly detect this and report this. And then the fact that within 48 hours, this confirmation was made shows the preparedness level and the commitment of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, their leadership and readiness to move, work with other stakeholders to ensure that our farms, our animals and humans are protected. So those interventions are ongoing, and they're still working, just like Dr. Ballard also said. And then I know information we have that veterinarians who are working in the field. There's also deployment to Niger State, even from human health sector, the Ministry of Health, Niger, we are in touch with them, and the NCDC is also providing off-site support and preparing to deploy it, and to ensure that contact tracing, the people who are exposed are actually followed up, and then they also get all the relevant treatment they need to get to make sure that they are not victims for this.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. The conversation will continue after the break. Please stay with us.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. It is still Nigeria Today, and my guests are still here with me. We're still talking about curtailing anthrax in Nigeria. Now, Dr. Abubakar, the disease broke out. I know quite a lot of Nigerians are not really aware of this kind of disease. Now, what are some of the measures that we can take to prevent the spread, especially for those of them that are, taking care of livestock and the rest of them?
So for the immediate, I think it is important that when you notice any strange symptoms in your livestock, particularly the cattle, the sheep, and the goat, you do report it to competent veterinary authorities. These signs may not come, so sudden, but, there is usually that dullness that come on your bubbling herd of cattle that you do notice. And then in some cases, the bleeding that is always being described from the natural orifices of the animal, the nose, the mouth, the eye, the ears, not necessarily that the animal is dead before you start seeing this. You could just see that, within a very short possible time, the animal goes off feed and they are not grazing. Ruminant naturally will want to, at any given opportunity, they will just want to go out there, and you get these signs. The moment you have those signs, let us be careful and then report the incidents to the nearest veterinary authorities, and further investigation could be carried out, and then we do this. Secondly, those of us that work around the abattoir, the butchers, the animal health workers, the veterinarians, and even the transporters of these animals should also have it at the back of their mind that for any animal that is looking very dull and having these symptoms of blood not clotting, let it also be reported to competent authorities. And in this case, for most consumers, I mean the last category, most consumers of meat, they should also be wary. They have to go to those accredited centers, meat haulage centers, where they should buy their meat. It is important that you don't pick on anything on the roadside where you have butchers or some people just selling by the roadside, and you don't know whether the animal is actually being cleared from an abattoir. This is a time that we have to be very careful. And in any case, our normal tradition and culture in terms of boiling and cooking very well ought to be one. Now, there is this category of people that also need to be very careful, and they are the livestock farmers and the animal health workers and the butchers. Because sometimes...
Sorry to cut in here. Does this also include the poultry, like...
Okay, so anthrax is... poultry, the avians, the ones we call the avians, are not included. Are not included.
That's good news for me.
It is, it is. But you know, the tricky thing is that sometimes when you go to where they are processed, it is not separated between the chicken and some of these animals. You just have a butchery where all of this are being mixed up, and there could be contamination. And that is where we also want to advise colleagues to be extremely careful that biosafety and biosecurity in this outbreak, in this kind of outbreak, we must have all our PPEs worn when it comes to examining or attending to this ruminant. And there is also a group of animals that always is being exempted that we also don't pay that kind of attention to, and these are horses and camel. They are all in the same group, camelidae, I mean equidae, and they are also susceptible in a way, particularly where you have them doing grazing in a free range. We also have to be careful. And in terms of transportation of animals from different states, this is also the time where farmers need not to introduce new stock. They need to have a break and not to introduce new stock into their farm until there is clearance of and then the disease is contained for now.
Now, Dr. Yahya, we understand that the anthrax spores are resistant to severe condition, which of course means it can survive. It survives in soil or environment for decades, making it difficult to eradicate. Is there any kind of cure for it?
Ready? Hear you very well. Can you repeat that?
I said, is there any kind of cure for it, considering the fact that the anthrax spores survives under extreme condition?
Well, our environment, in the soil, it's not unlikely that we may not have this in our environment. But once a favorable condition comes, and then there is other exposure, that's when we are likely going to get this. But the thing is, because in outbreak situation like this, it's good to create awareness that people know the means through which they can get this. So once they understand it, then they take all the necessary precautions to ensure that they are not exposed to it. And how do they get it? And it's through contact with sick or dead animals, particularly animals that show classical symptoms like bleeding, or slaughter animals that the blood is not clotting. And then, so when you know that you are in contact, then you report yourself to health authorities, and then as well as the veterinary authorities who ensure that they investigate, take appropriate sample, and if it's anthrax, that they also put measures. Environmental health services is very critical in this. In terms of environmental hygiene, I know that they also have to put some measures in place to ensure that they contaminate or fumigate whatever that has had contact with the contaminated environment, and like whether the farms or the vehicles, whatever things true that has had contact that reflect at the force. And then, of course, the veterinary services will also do their part in terms of other animals around. So for our environment, what we just need more or less hygiene, vigilance, and less conscious of how we take care of ourselves. And we cook our food very well, and in this time. And then again, we also ensure that when you see somebody who has symptoms, who is sick and is likely to have contact with sick animal, such a person needs to report in the health facility, or even call the hotline for the Nigeria Center for Disease Control with 6232, or the State Ministry of Health hotline, the state where they are, or even their local government health authorities where they have surveillance and investigation officer, who will also make sure that they communicate with their counterparts. So with adequate knowledge and with vigilance, and I believe that we'll be able to do the needful to contain this out, particularly talking to all the relevant stakeholders.
Now, Dr. Abubakar, just in 30 seconds, what's your advice to Nigerians and and livestock owners?
So first, I want to go that the government should consider as a matter of urgency in carrying out vaccination against anthrax. I mean, we have potent vaccines that has been in the market, and this, I must also correct that this is not the first time that we've been having outbreak of anthrax in Nigeria. In fact, our own National Veterinary Research Institute has that capacity to produce very effective vaccine against this disease. And what I will expect that we do in the next few days, since we really have no opportunity in treating in animals, we should carry out prevention. And I think that way we are going to be nibbling it in the bud. Okay. It is the weakest point, and there has to be a lot of resources to pay attention to that so that it doesn't spread to humans.
Thank you very much. So far it's been insightful. I must thank Dr. Abubakar Muhammad, Field Veterinarian, Governing Board Member, Veterinary Council of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for having me. Thank you.
Also via Zoom is Dr. Yahya Disu, Head of Communications, Nigeria Center for Disease and Control, NCDC. Thank you so much for joining us. And viewer, thank you for always being a part of this. I'm your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.